Hi there. I'm Danny Trailer. If Jay White had come up to me 2 years ago and said, you're going to be speaking in chapel your junior year and you're going to accept Jesus in your life, I would have been like, yeah, go kick rocks. That's probably not going to happen. My whole plan was come here for 4 years, get my degree, and go back home. So the reason I came to chapel was to get the extra credit, and that was it really, fall asleep at the back or whatever. But as you can see now, I'm up here. I love Jesus, and I'm speaking at chapel. I was born in Scotland, 1986, March the 11th. My parents, as I found out recently, were both baptized when they were younger, but both of them kind of fell at the church and didn't really grow up in the church and didn't really take me to church as a child. The only time we went to church was at like Easter's and Christmas, and that was through school, nothing to do with my parents. And speaking to my parents about it, they always raised me with good Christian values, but they never said, okay, you're a Christian, you are a Christian. They're like, we will give you these values and this is how you will live your life. So I always feel that I've been raised in some sort of organization and faith and everything. So I lived my life back at home, kind of sort of thing. When I turned 15, it was kind of live for the weekend sort of thing, go out drinking with my friends at the age of 15. Because drinking age is a little bit younger back home, but even not 15. So at the time, it was fun. I enjoyed myself, got to hang out with my buddies and just do whatever and didn't really worry about, what was going to happen. So used to play a lot of sport. And then when I finished high school, I kind of failed a few classes, so didn't get the opportunity to go to university straight away. So I kind of worked in a high school. I wanted to be a teacher. I kind of knew back then I wanted to be a teacher. So I worked with children. So I worked in a high school as a learning assistant. So I did that for 2 years, 3 years. And after that, it was kind of got to the stage, it's right, it's crunch time. I need to kind of make a decision and need to, get a degree. So someone mentioned to my dad about the opportunity of, he plays volleyball. He's not too bad at that. He might have the chance to kind of, get a scholarship or something in the States. So I was kind of okay, well, after watching on TV, I was kind of I don't think I'm at that standard, but we'll see what happens. So kind of signed up with this recruitment agency back at home, and they were like, right, your grades are fine, your volleyball's fine, we should be able to find you a scholarship. So the whole process, nearly took a year and a half, and that whole time they were like, oh yeah, we'll find you something. And I got no offers, pretty much for a year and 3 months or something. So I was kind of right, this idea sucks. I'm kind of giving up with this. So I'd kind of already been offered a contract to play volleyball in Denmark, coach their younger team, play some volleyball. And I was like, yeah, that suits me fine. I'll do that for a couple of years, come home, then go to school. So kind of just as I was about to, the Danish team had sent me this contract to sign for coach and everything. And the same day I got that, I think I got an email from John Yelling, the volleyball coach. And it was kind of a case of, we're still looking for players. Do you want to come and play for me? And I'm kind of okay. First email I wrote back was, yes, and I'm not Baptist. Does that matter? And he was like, yep, that's fine, not a problem. Here you go, I can offer you this much money. And I'm like, okay, brilliant, take that. So this was the only offer I got was MOBAP. So kind of looking at it now, it's kind of maybe that's a sign in some ways. I'm kind of a Baptist university, why would I end up here if it wasn't for this reason, So back at home, I was always interested in religion, but when I wanted to go home and teach religious studies, so Islam, Sikhism, Christianity, everything. I just wanted to learn knowledge about it. So when I came here, my whole thing was I'm not going to turn into a Baptist or anything like that, but I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to learn about the Christian faith, and I'm going to become interested in what's happening. So I started going along to small group and all this, and started speaking to some of my friends, some of the people involved in this, and it was kind of interesting to me. And part of it was one of my friends back home, one of my best friends, or two of my best friends, they were together, and she got cancer. So she got lymphoma cancer a year or so before I left. So at first it was kind of the doctor was okay, you got a 99% chance, you're going to be fine. 3 months later it's oh, that one didn't work, maybe 80%. Next time it's 75%. And it's just getting worse and worse, and we're this is not good. So the last one, they're right, we're going to do a bone marrow transplant. And we don't even think that's going to work. So we're pretty much telling you you're going to die. So it was a kind of case of it's wow, I don't really know how to deal with this. These were my two best friends. So before I left, they were right, we're going to get married, and we want you to be there, so you're going to be the best man. So I had to go to that, and it was kind of one of these, like it was a happy occasion because they're my best friends that are getting married, but they're getting married for like the wrong reasons in some way. So, and I had to leave about a month or so after this wedding, and I was like, I didn't know how I was going to cope with it, and like it was kind of hard on me. And then I think one day it was like 2 weeks into, maybe about a month or so into school, I came to chapel and I was sitting at the back, and the song "Inside Out" came on, and something like started stirring inside of me, and like I started kind of like my heart started racing. And then when everyone was getting up to leave, everyone, like my buddies were like, "You ready to go?" I'm like, "No, I'm just going to stay here for a minute." And I think I sat at the back for about an hour and just cried solid, just like bawling my eyes out. Had no idea why, no idea what was going on. I just knew that like I was scared because Anna was going to die and everything like this. So I spoke to all the guys at small group, and they're like, "Right, we'll pray for her, we'll pray for her." I'm like, "Yeah, you guys do what you want. Like, okay, that's cool." I didn't know. So a couple of months before I went home after my freshman year, Anna like messaged me and was like, "Hey, we're just chatting randomly, having a normal conversation." She just throws us in the middle and goes, "Oh yeah, they can't find the cancer." I'm like, "What do you mean they can't find it? Like they put it somewhere else?" And she was like, no, like they can't find it. I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to explain this better. What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, they've done all the tests multiple times and it's gone. They're saying I'm in remission." So she went into remission, and she's now been in remission, I think, for 2 years now. So the cancer's gone. So she's been cured. So, yeah. So at the time, I was kind of like, okay, these prayers must have helped, but doctors must have done something as well. So I was kind of like, didn't really think about that. So came back my sophomore year. In my freshman, sophomore year, a lot of people know me. I used to just party all the time. Most weekends, you'd probably find me at some party, drinking far too much alcohol, trying to chat up women, not very successfully. But I still kept coming along to chapel, and every now and again, one of the speakers would come up, and I'd be like, okay, this guy kind of talks to me. I kind of understand what he's saying, but I would listen maybe for another hour after this. I'd be like, oh, that's kind of good, and then I'd go and get some lunch and forget about it or something. So I kind of was like, I kind of started trying to understand more and listen more. So, and then same with my sophomore year, didn't really have much going on. So I ended up staying here over the summer, this summer, and the plan was to get a job, and I didn't get a job. So my weeks usually consisted of getting up at, I would say in the morning, but usually about 12, getting in my car, driving down to the gas station, getting a case of beer, a bag of ice, filling up my cooler, going sitting down by the pool, till usually about 7 o'clock at night when other people would join me after work. And this would probably be my idea of like 3 or 4 days during the week and the weekends as well. So I kind of realized this was kind of a bit of a mess. So came back junior year and was kind of like, right, something needs to kind of change a little bit. So started going along to a small group with Ryan. One of my buddies kind of got me involved in a small group last year, but I never really went along all that time. But he was like, right, you need to come. So Ryan, Phil, Brad, Jimmy, and then Reed came along later on in the group. But we were kind of met every Monday, and these guys were kind of like, okay, like speaking to my heart, we were always talking about this stuff, and I started to read the Bible more and kind of pay more attention. I was kind of like, okay, I need something more. So then I especially remember a guy, Mark Sigma, who is the pastor at Matthias Law, a church in St. Charles, which I go to now. And he came along and spoke one day. And I remember him speaking last year, and I just remember his energy and his passion for Christ. And he was just consumed by it, and he just like gave it out to everyone. He was just awesome. So I remember him speaking. I was like, this guy's really interesting. Like, he really knows what he's talking about. So I went to his church like a couple of weeks later and was like, yes. Like, it was on a Wednesday night, and I went along. And I remember they gave out cards on the chair, and they said, one of the things was like tick boxes. And the first box was, if you don't know Jesus and you want to know Jesus, tick this box and hand it in. So I did. So I ticked that box and handed it in. And I was like, right. And they were like, oh, we'll send you a text. I'll give you a call at some point in the like tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, I'll probably get a call in a week or something like that, because I don't think they're going to care that much. So the next day I came to chapel, and I remember it because it was the 2nd of February this year, and I remember because Tony Jones was speaking, and he was speaking about hunger, and he was talking about, are you hungry to find Christ? And I think the whole time, like, I just had this like sensation of like goosebumps all over me the whole time he was talking. And he was talking, he was like, and then that was the moment. I can't remember what it was he exactly said, but he was just saying, if you're hungry for Christ, accept him, and he will like fill you up. And I was like, yeah, this is it. So on that day, I accepted Christ into my life, sitting at the back, up at chapel, and yeah. And I remember, like, as I walked out of chapel that day, I looked at my phone, and, like, and I had a text from Mark, the pastor of the church, and he was like, hey, awesome to meet you last night. We really need to catch up. I want to meet you. What are you doing tonight at this time? And I was like, wow, this guy's kind of, like, he's taking time to get to know me and everything. So I kind of texted him back. I was like, I've got a game, blah, blah, blah. And, like, we couldn't meet up for a week or so. But I saw him the next week at church. And I remember saying to him, I was like, I'm Danny. You text me. And he was like, oh, great, cool. He's like, when can you meet up? And I was like, we couldn't figure out any time. But I said to him, I was like, last Thursday I accepted gave my life to Christ and everything. And he was like, wow, that's awesome. And the first thing he said was, let's get you baptized. How about next week? And I was like, oh, okay, because they just did baptisms. So we ended up waiting, and I got baptized on the 29th of February because my parents were meant to come into town. They came into town that Wednesday. They did miss it because their flight was delayed, but it was just such an awesome feeling to kind of proclaim my love for Christ and everything like that, and something that I never thought I would ever do and consider. So I feel my life's it has changed. My life has changed. I've become more conscious of what I do. I think about things a lot more and kind of realize that I have more of a purpose in this world than just like going out and drinking and doing whatever. And I know I have like the chance to influence so many people. I want to be a teacher, and I know that I can be a such better teacher by having Jesus in my life and kind of pushing this message on other people and like letting them find the same sort of love that I had. And it's not easy. I know it's tough. Like, I know a lot of people you can see some people and they're like, oh, it looks easy what they're doing. I don't know if I could do that. And it's not. It's one of the hardest things because people judge you, and people like, I know some people still look at me and go like, oh yeah, he was that kid that was drinking freshman year. He was drinking like 2 months ago. Why is he like, he was the one that was doing all this stupid stuff a few days ago. How is he a Christian? Like, but we all mess up and we all are sinners. But the one thing that I remember is that Jesus loves me and he loves you too. Thank you.